Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, we are going back to Star Wars Battlefront 2. No, the other one, the newer one, the one from DICE. There's so many Battlefronts, man. I'm getting Battlefront-itis, but we've never reached that Battlefront 3, have we? Anyway, Star Wars Day is quickly approaching, and I find myself in a bit of a Star Wars mood, so what better game to fire up than the one that was abandoned far too soon? Indeed, I've played it this year just to reminisce a bit on the whole journey from when the game first came out with the star cards and microtransactions, all of the work that DICE did to overhaul it, and how it is nowadays, because I haven't played it since some of the major changes came to the game. Since game reviewing is much of my profession here, I'm always on to the next thing. As much as I love to hang back and play my older games, it's rare I get the chance to, but thanks to this channel, I get to do it more often. So it was really that first time diving back into what was happening with Battlefront 2 and just seeing everything DICE has done. Is it worth your time at this point in the life cycle? Are people still playing? I hope to answer all of those questions and just reflect to get into that Star Wars mood, baby. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here, you're into nostalgic and retrospective content, consider subscribing, especially if you like Zelda. We got a lot on the way. So no complete in box for this one. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I'm gonna call myself a fraud when I'm being a fraud. I just wasn't thinking. I just made my entire upload schedule for the month. I don't know why I assumed I had DICE's Battlefront 2. I don't, so you have my apology, but there's no manual or anything really, so like, yeah, I guess we're okay this time around, but it'll never happen again. I promise. Liar! Hey, I remember the hype coming into this game is where I really want to start off, because heading in, you heard that there's going to be instant action, there's going to be a campaign, there's going to be all these new multiplayer modes. This was exciting because the first Battlefront, when it came out in 2015, was absolutely one of the biggest soul-crushing experiences I have had as a gamer. To have a literal wish list on my Mr. Matty Plays channel dedicated to Star Wars Battlefront 3 and how DICE should pick it up, DICE should do it. Finally, DICE does it, and it comes out and it's just hollow and soulless, but it looks good. Oh, it hurts so bad. But Battlefront 2 comes around and they're saying all the right things, man. Now, the campaign for me never quite delivered. I never really clicked with Iden Versio. I thought the whole, we'll put it in quotes here, just in case anyone wants to play it, I don't want a heavy spoil, plot twist. That's being extremely generous. The wild plot twist. It was so telegraphed that I found it kind of nasty, because it felt gutless to me, because I feel like all these Star Wars stories are the same, and this had the chance to be something different, and it chose not to be. And it just went down the same path every Star Wars story does. Now, I thought that the actual DLC that came out for free about a month after the game's launch for the story and kind of wrapped it up was solid. I enjoyed it a bit. But look, Star Wars Battlefront campaigns have never been one to write home about when you take a look at the history. They've just been retellings of eras of Star Wars and big battles in Star Wars. And so they were fun enough for what they were as a kid, that kind of arcadey fun, but the campaign's never really what we're here for. It's about the multiplayer, it's about the instant action, and boy, has DICE really turned it around. I'm very surprised that the progression and the cosmetics are all just here for me. I sign on to the game, and I have all of the clone trooper skins. I have all of the rebel skins, all of the stormtrooper skins. I mean, by the way, if anyone ever tries to argue that DICE doesn't love the Clone Wars, just look at the skin count for how many the clones have. 20 plus, by the way. For, you know, like the rebels, 5 plus. Like, it's so few and far between. It's hilarious, but yeah, they love their clones, and how couldn't you? I mean, there's so many ways to customize them, but I love that it's all just here. It's all here. You don't got to pay for it or anything. It's a great thank you, truly, because after everything that happened with the star cards, you know, it's like we deserve at least this. So the star cards have also been reworked. So now what happens is when you're playing the game, your class level is going to go up, and you're going to get skill points that you can then throw into all of these star cards. Now, here's the kind of punchline with it all, though, that I noticed when I came back. Yeah, it may not be a pay-to-win system, but a lot of folks are fully leveled up now. So your boy kind of coming in there level like 5. Oh, I was getting smoked. And yeah, those purple level, those high tier star cards are difference makers still. It may not be a pay to win, but if you got them, it's a huge, huge difference maker. So actually what I did was I played online for a little bit, but I went over to the co-op missions with a buddy and we just played against the bots. At first that sounds kind of gross. I mean, any other game I play, when I hear let's shoot bots, I'm like, no, I want to fight people online. I want to feel good about myself if I'm better than them or something. But with this, because of that heritage for me with Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2 on the original Xbox, or at least that's the system I had them for, you know, that was all we did. We fought bots all the time. I distinctly remember a fraud alert moment for Maddie as well. A lot of fraud in this video. I remember, though, I was over a friend's house. I brought my PS2 and I fired up Battlefront, and you'll remember in the OG Battlefront when you're gunning people down, you'll see there's a kill feed that says, you know, Maddie took out KN624. I remember a buddy of mine was like, oh, are you fighting players online? That's so cool. And why did I lie? I did, though. I said, yeah, they're online. There was no Ethernet port nearby at all. But anyway, fighting bots has been the bread and butter of Battlefront. Instant action's been the bread and butter of Battlefront. So co-op missions was great because you got that quick action, you got to feel good about yourself, you got the classic Battlefront vibes. But the reason I bring all of this up is because of the star card system, ladies and gentlemen. It's really tough to level up when you're getting smoked constantly. And so what's really great about the co-op missions is they let all of the progression happen there as it would in a multiplayer match. So I'm farming levels on the heroes, on the villains, on every class archetype, and it felt good. Like I was, by the end when they did the match results, leaping 5 to 6 levels per class. And this was nice because certain ones I don't think are really good at the start. Like you can get away with being a low-level assault trooper because you just need general third-person shooting skills. But something like the officer, which has got the handy pistol, you're like, oh, I got this, man. Don't worry. Poo, poo, poo. You shoot like little pebbles at them worth of damage because you're more of a support class. Leveling that up in co-op missions was great. So I like that they reworked this entirely where progression can happen offline, if you will, and online. And I especially like that, you know, the microtransaction aspect is gone. But WoW has it really improved in that regard. I mean, it's great that I feel like I can just get in there and start competing, but it's even better to know that if I'm getting smoked online, I can play offline with friends still, and we can level up together and get used to all the maps without falling behind. It's shockingly better than I thought. But one thing I just gotta say when I fired this game up, you know, I'm convinced I'll never be good at Battlefront 2. And if there's a Battlefront 3, I certainly won't be good at that because I imagine it'll only become more mind-blowing. I am too obsessed with this game's visuals and audio experience as a Star Wars fan to ever focus. This is the only multiplayer game ever to make me just kind of running around like I'm just in the thick of it constantly, just enjoying and basking in every little bit of Star Wars goodness I can. I remember there was one point I'm on Hoth and I'm just running towards this cotton candy cloud sunset. I'm just like, oh, man, this is so I just get shot. Like, it's such a beautiful video game, man. From top to bottom, as a Star Wars fan, it's so cool that something like this exists because the planet count is so high. You've got great interiors like the Death Star, and they're just built with such painstaking detail. You know, say what you will about Frostbite as a BioWare fan, where I see EA forcing them to work on RPGs and Frostbite. We know how that all went with Mass Effect Andromeda. When it came to Star Wars Battlefront 2 and what it was able to accomplish visually, it absolutely helped the game out. But also, since they worked with Skywalker Sound and really brought the sounds and the little quirks from Star Wars into the actual game itself, it just adds another layer where the muffled explosions as you see a TIE fighter just run by and rain down fire near you, and the sounds that you hear as it scrapes by, it's just incredible. I sound like a little fanboy, and it's because I am, and that's why I'll never be good at the game, because I'm constantly admiring this stuff. Every time I fire it up, my friends get tired of me because I keep going, oh, this game's so cool. I can't help myself. I try every time to disconnect, get in the try hard mode, try not to throw. And I'm like okay at the game, but you know, man, I appreciate it far too much to really focus. But that's what makes it a treat, is that I can just go into co-op missions and oogle all I want and enjoy the visuals, enjoy the audio without, you know, ruining anybody's good time. Because we're now at the end of the post-launch support, which EA stopped to make the next Battlefield game, and when the next Battlefield game launched without a score system, or scoreboard, sorry, there were a lot of people very upset saying, this is what you shut down Battlefront 2 for, but now it seems like Battlefield is starting to get its legs again, and some people are saying Season 4 is actually pretty good. But with all that said, Battlefront 2 now has all of that post-launch support just packed in there, man. I mean, every hero, you know, Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan, every skin, every character, it's all there. It's such a complete experience where I just wonder with the turnaround and how time has done its thing to settle this as one of the better Star Wars games we've got, even if it didn't start that way, to settle it now, I wonder what Battlefront 3 would look like. Because if DICE comes out with Battlefront 3 and doesn't have Galactic Conquest, immediately the game's a disappointment. Like, I don't want a third game unless y'all finally figure that out. For those who have never played Star Wars Battlefront, Galactic Conquest is that guy. It's that mode, man. So what happens is you have this galactic star map, you pick a faction, let's say you pick the clone troopers, right? So you're going as the Republic, you're going up against the Separatists, and you'll navigate this galactic map and fight for planets. And as you get control of them, you'll gradually start winning the war, and you'll get credits that you could spend on all sorts of upgrades, such as, we'll say, a garrison that'll assist you with reinforcements if your count of troops gets too low. This made it a great kind of tug of war mode, but it was highly replayable, highly addicting, and absolutely defined what Battlefront was. Beyond the boots on the ground feeling, beyond all of the heroes and villains you could play as, I think Galactic Conquest was what really defined that series truly, because it took all those elements and pulled them together. And of course, in later Battlefronts, you get into the starships and start flying around and fighting in the sky, fighting space battles. It's just a really prized element of that game. And DICE has never done that. No matter all the requests after Battlefront 1, they're like, no, we can't do it, we haven't done it yet. But if they were to ever do a Battlefront 3, and so help me God if it wasn't there, that would be a major disappointment. Because I feel like when I look at Battlefront 2, it's got everything going for it. It's got the heroes, it's got the villains, it's got the maps, it's got the modes. All the maps are, just like DICE has always done, broken up beautifully to fit their specifically tailored modes. Just what's missing is Galactic Conquest. And with the support being done, the hope of it being added in after launch, for whatever reason DICE would do that, it's a huge selling point, so I doubt they ever would. But the fact that we'll never get it in 2, you just gotta hope for 3 if 3 were to ever happen. But that is truly the only thing that feels like it's missing here. Like I said, though, it's not all perfect. You know, to me, really, I think beyond the star cards, the matchmaking and the actual getting your friends into a match on PC, at least, is a pain in the butt. Like, we were trying to add each other through the EA app, and this thing's weird. The only way we could add each other is, thank goodness I had one of my other friends added, so my buddy went through his friend list, found me, and then added me. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to play together at all, despite me putting in their name and trying to search them up on EA and all this stuff. It just wouldn't work. So the PC experience, while it looks beautiful and sounds beautiful, leaves a lot to be desired in that regard. And then when matchmaking starts up, I'm happy to say people are still playing, but slowly it's taking a little bit longer to find some matches. That's again where instant action and co-op are great, but it is starting to take a little bit longer to find those matches as the player base whittles off slowly over time. And then once the server shut down, that's why it's great that these offline features are here, right? Because inevitably that's what's going to happen. I mean, what did they try to do at EA? They tried to shut down, and they did, I think, all of the Battlefield servers for the older Battlefield games, but then they also were looking to shut down, I think, Mirror's Edge and take it out for sale because they weren't going to have some type of server live. It was weird. But point being is they reversed that decision. But I think with something that's such an online focused game like Battlefront 2, 5, 10 years down the line when that comes, that's why we're thankful that instant action and co-op missions, while co-op mission is 2 to 4 players, I think that would go away too. At least instant action's there so we can still enjoy and play this game in an offline state. But overall, coming back to it in 2023, like, I enjoyed it. It's definitely worth firing up, especially if you're in that quick Star Wars mood, I define it as. Like, there's a lot of quick Star Wars games that I could recommend to people, like Republic Commando is one of them. But Battlefront 2 was a lot of fun just to go back, see how it's going, see all the updates, see how pretty it is, and really feel good about this comeback story because it seems so unlikely. I mean, when you look at the petitions and the Reddit posts and the absolute hellscape that was YouTube when Battlefront 2 launched. I mean, it was a complete disaster. And it feels like a galaxy far, far away now with all the updates they've done since the launch. But otherwise, I just wanted to share some love as Star Wars Day approaches, because it's Zelda time now. So ladies and gentlemen, that's all I've got for you on Battlefront 2 in 2023. I'm looking forward to seeing your thoughts. If you've played it recently, let me know. Other than that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.